What if I told you that one of the most feared enforcers for the notorious 14K Triad, the man whose life was a whirlwind of violence and crime, is now a serene Shaolin monk? It sounds like the plot of a blockbuster movie, but this is the incredible true story of Tei Fei. Today, we delve into a journey of radical transformation, from the dark underbelly of Hong Kong's criminal world to the tranquil halls of a monk. How does a man go from being a Triad boss to a Buddhist monk? Let's find out. His story begins in a place many of us can't even imagine. Born into poverty in Hong Kong, Teddy's childhood was far from ideal. The streets were his playground, and survival was the only game that mattered. It was a tough environment, one that often pushes young, impressionable kids down a dangerous path. For Teddy, that path led straight to the 14K, one of the largest and most infamous Triad societies in the world. He was young, ambitious, and looking for a sense of belonging and power that he couldn't find anywhere else. Climbing the ranks of the 14K wasn't easy. It required a combination of street smarts, loyalty, and a capacity for ruthless action. Teddy had all three in spades. He quickly became known as a formidable enforcer, a red pole, a man who solved problems with his fists and his reputation. His days were filled with turf wars, illicit dealings, and the constant threat of violence. He commanded respect born from fear, living a life of excess fast cars, expensive clothes, and endless parties. He was at the top of his game, a boss in a world where power is everything. From the outside, but inside, a different story was unfolding. The glamour and power were a facade, masking a deep, gnawing emptiness. The constant violence, the betrayals, and the ever-present danger began to take their toll. Teddy started to question the life he had built. Was this all there was? The adrenaline rush of a fight couldn't quiet the turmoil in his soul. He looked at the faces of his brothers in the Triad and saw the same emptiness reflected back. He realized that the path he was on led to only two destinations: a prison cell or an early grave. He was trapped in a cycle of aggression and despair, and he desperately wanted a way out. The turning point didn't come in a hail of bullets or a dramatic police raid. It came quietly, in a moment of profound crisis. A series of personal tragedies and close calls with the law pushed Teddy to his breaking point. He was lost, staring into an abyss of his own making. It was during this dark period that a friend, seeing his anguish, suggested something completely radical: a visit to a Buddhist monastery. Skeptical, but with nothing left to lose, Teddy agreed. He walked into the tranquil world of the Shaolin Temple, a place that was the complete opposite of everything he had ever known. Stepping into the monastery was like entering another dimension. The air was calm, filled with the scent of incense and the low hum of chanting. Instead of the chaos and aggression of the Triad world, he found order, discipline, and a profound sense of peace. He watched the monks, their movements graceful and deliberate, their faces serene. For the first time in his life, Teddy felt a flicker of hope. He began to learn about Buddhist philosophies, concepts of karma, compassion, and the possibility of redemption. The teachings resonated with him on a level he couldn't explain. The idea that you could change your destiny, that your past didn't have to define your future, was a revelation. Making the decision to leave the Triad was the most dangerous and difficult choice of his life. You don't just walk away from an organization like the 14K. It meant turning his back on his friends, his power, and the only life he had ever known. It was an act of immense courage. He had to sever old ties, knowing that his old life could come back to haunt him at any moment. He traded his designer suits for simple monk's robes, his luxury apartment for a sparse room in the monastery. He began the grueling process of becoming a monk, rising before dawn for meditation, training in kung fu not for violence but for discipline, and studying ancient texts. The transformation was profound. The man who once used his fists to intimidate and harm now used his hands in prayer and service. The anger and aggression that had fueled him for so long slowly began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of calm and compassion he never thought possible. He learned to confront the ghosts of his past, not by running from them, but by understanding them through meditation and self-reflection. He had to face the immense guilt for the pain he had caused and learn to forgive himself, which was perhaps the hardest battle of all. Today, Tei Fei, now known by his monastic name, lives a life dedicated to peace and helping others. He shares his story not to glorify his past, but to offer a powerful message of hope. He works with at-risk youth, young men and women who are standing at the same crossroads he once faced. He understands their anger, their search for belonging, and their desperation. He shows them that there is another way, that they have the power to choose a different path. His life is living proof that no one is beyond redemption, that it's never too late to change. Teddy's journey from a feared Triad enforcer to a compassionate Shaolin monk is a testament to the incredible resilience of the human spirit. It reminds us that change is possible, even from the darkest of places. It's a story about finding light in the shadows, peace in the midst of chaos, and a second chance at life. His life teaches us a powerful lesson. True strength is unfound in violence or power over others, but in mastering oneself and choosing compassion over conflict. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. If Teddy's story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the amazing complexities of the human experience. And do not forget to share this video with someone who might need to hear a message of hope. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and be kind. In the sprawling concrete jungle of Hong Kong, where fortunes are made and lost overnight, legends are forged not just in boardrooms, but in the shadowy alleys of the underworld. Today, we delve into one such legend, a story whispered in hushed tones, the tale of the black and white impermanence, the ruthless rise and spectacular fall of Hong Kong's most feared Triad duo. Our story begins in the gritty, post-war streets of Kowloon. This wasn't the gleaming metropolis we know today. It was a chaotic labyrinth of poverty and ambition, a perfect breeding ground for those who dared to live outside the law. It was here that two young men, Hak and Bok, met. Hak, meaning black, was the muscle, a stoic, fearsome brawler whose fists spoke louder than words. Bok, meaning white, was the brains, a sharp, cunning strategist who could see 3 moves ahead of any rival. Together, they were a perfect storm. They started small, running protection rackets in local markets, but their ambition was boundless. Hak's reputation for unyielding brutality, combined with Bok's brilliant schemes, allowed them to carve out a territory with terrifying speed. They didn't just defeat their rivals, they absorbed them, dismantled them, and made examples of them. Their methods were ruthless, earning them a moniker inspired by the underworld deities of Chinese folklore. Hak Mosung and Bok Mosun, the black and white impermanents, messengers of death. As their empire grew, they expanded into more lucrative ventures. They weren't just street thugs anymore. They were becoming a corporation of crime. From smuggling and loan sharking to infiltrating legitimate businesses, their influence spread like a shadow across the city. Bok, the mastermind, established a complex network of informants and corrupt officials. While Hak enforced their rule with an iron fist, they seemed untouchable, a dual-headed dragon reigning over Hong Kong's criminal landscape. At the peak of their power, they controlled a significant portion of the city's underground economy. They lived lavishly, their names synonymous with both fear and a strange, dark glamour. They were the kings of a hidden kingdom, their edicts carrying the weight of law in the places the police couldn't or wouldn't reach. But in the world of triads, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. The very traits that fueled their rise would soon become the seeds of their destruction. Cracks began to appear in their seemingly unbreakable bond. Bok, ever the strategist, saw the changing tides. Hong Kong was modernizing. The old ways of brute force were becoming obsolete. He wanted to legitimize their operations, to wash their money clean and transition from gangsters to businessmen. He envisioned a future where they could operate in the open, shedding their violent past. Hak, however, saw this as a sign of weakness. He was a creature of the streets, a warrior who believed in the simple, brutal purity of power. To him, going legit was a betrayal of everything they had built. He despised the world of suits and handshakes, trusting only the loyalty forged in blood and fear. This fundamental disagreement created a rift between them, a chasm that their enemies were all too eager to exploit. Rival gangs, long suppressed under their reign, saw their chance. They began to chip away at the edges of their territory, testing their resolve. At the same time, the Royal Hong Kong Police, armed with new anti-corruption laws and a dedicated organized crime and Triad bureau, launched a major offensive. The net was closing in from all sides. The paranoia and distrust between Hack and Bach festered. Bach suspected Hack of plotting to remove him, believing he had become too soft. Hack saw Bach's secret meetings and financial maneuvers as a plot to cut him out and leave him to the wolves. The perfect partnership, the yin and yang of their criminal enterprise, was now hopelessly out of balance. Their enemies didn't need to defeat them. They just had to wait for them to destroy each other. The final act was as swift as it was tragic. A deal orchestrated by Bach to secure a new, legitimate business front. Was it a setup by a rival or a trap laid by Hack to eliminate his partner? The truth was lost in the chaos. In the ensuing conflict, the duo turned on each other. The strategists and the brothers in crime became mortal enemies. Their empire, built on a foundation of brutal unity, crumbled in a single night of betrayal and violence. In the end, there were no winners. The legend of the black and white impermanence concluded as it began. In the shadows, one was found lifeless in an abandoned warehouse, a victim of the very violence he championed. The other vanished, rumored to have escaped with a fraction of their fortune, forever looking over his shoulder, a ghost haunted by the empire he built and destroyed. Their fall was a stark reminder of a simple truth. In the underworld, loyalty is a currency, and betrayal is the final price. The cycle of power is relentless, and even the most feared figures are ultimately impermanent. The story of Hack and Bach serves as a cautionary tale, a dark chapter in the vibrant history of Hong Kong. It shows that even the strongest empires can collapse from within, and that the bonds forged in the underworld are as fragile as they are fierce. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of Hong Kong's criminal past. If you found this story compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world's most fascinating hidden histories. Let us know in the comments what legends you want us to explore next. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.